Thank you, Mr. Herr, for being here. Thank you for your report. I've read it. And I think where you and I might have disagreements, there may be matters of opinion and not necessarily the facts as you've reported them. So I want to go over the elements of the offense that seem to have at least struck my craw is the where you put in here twice that the jury would not likely to find intentionality on the part of disclosure in particular. So I want to talk about that for a second. So if it's not willful, we might say an accident, something negligent, careless, that would not necessarily rise to willful or intentional or purposeful, right?
Those are different standards of intent under the law. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So when President Biden misplaced 30 briefing documents in 2010 that had classified material, and they're not sure even if they ever got them all back, or when he was in the Hamptons at a party and he lost what they were calling code words, which is high security information, that wasn't necessarily willful. There was no indication that he purposefully did that. Accidental, negligent. You indicated, don't know if we even got all that information back. We're assuming maybe we did. That would not be willful, right?
As reflected in the report, there were certain categories of documents where when we looked into them and investigated how they got to where they ended up or how they ended up being misplaced, we did not identify evidence of willfulness.
Yeah, and so if something's willful, you wouldn't say it's ignorant, it's not incompetent, it's not accidental. We'd say something like it's willful, it's intentional, it's purposeful. It indicates really a choice, that you have made a deliberate, conscious decision to act in a certain way. Is that fair?
That is fair, Congressman. And as I explained in the report, the standard, the willfulness standard basically can be boiled down to the following things. That you know that what you are doing is against the law when you do it.
Correct. So let's take a look at it. And this has been brought up before in February of 2017. He's having the discussion with the ghostwriter. He says, he's at the Virginia house at this point. He says, I just found all the classified stuff downstairs, right? So he knows he's got classified stuff, right? 2 months later, in April, he's at a different location, is my understanding. I think he's now up in Delaware. And as you look at let's look at 105, 106 here. He says, Biden reads from a different notebook entry. He reads aloud from notes summarizing a range of issues. We're talking about U.S. military and views expressed there by the intelligence community, the DNI, CIA director. And while he's reading those notes, he says, I can't read my own writing. Do you have any idea what the heck I'm saying here? He asked the ghostwriter. Ghostwriter says, well, something, blah, blah, blah. And Biden says this, some of this may be classified, so be careful. Some of this may be classified, so be careful. Now, my immediate response was, okay, so he knows he's got classified docs. He's looking at this, he can't read it. He's giving this to somebody he knows has no security clearance. So he says, hey, read this, but be careful, it might be classified. The next thing, and the guy says, okay. Next thing he says, well, I don't know if it's classified or not. I'm suggesting to you, and this is where you and I have a difference of opinion. When you say something like, hey, look, this may be classified, be careful. That warning to be careful because it may be classified, that indicates guilty knowledge. That indicates he might know something more than he otherwise would have. And it indicates, then they go on and they read it. As you point out here, he reads classified information. And it's still classified today. That's on page 106. So when you look at this, it's hard for me to say, well, he was ignorant, he was incompetent, he was accidental. No. He had guilty knowledge. He knew and told the guy that he's going to expose that classified material to, hey, be careful. Be careful. It may be classified. That indicates something a little bit more than mere knowledge. Indicates that he has some intent there. Because the next thing he should have said is, hey, I don't know if it's classified, but we're going to skip over this until that's resolved. He didn't do that. What he said is, read it anyway.